My name is Zack Kravits, and I run an online education business called The Creator's Blueprint, where I help other creatives start, build, and scale their own creative businesses. This is my office for 2021. Welcome to the video. Let's get started. The last time I made one of these videos was over a year ago, and a lot has changed since then. And if you've seen the last office video that I've made, I'll link it up here just in case you want to go check it out. You've probably noticed that I'm in a totally different space. My girlfriend and I, we moved about 9 months ago into this brand new apartment in Los Angeles, and we're so excited. We love it. There's a lot of light and bright open spaces, and so we couldn't be more pleased to be here. And if you want to see an apartment tour, just let me know in the comments. Say, yes, I want to see an apartment tour video, and I'll get that thing going for you. Last time I made my office video, I was transitioning from a filmmaker, photographer, working with a bunch of clients into starting this online education business, The Creator's Blueprint. And so now I'm full into this new business of mine. And so my role has changed. And because of that, my office has changed. The look that I wanted was modern, but I also wanted to have functionality with it as well. I wanted to come in here, click a couple of buttons, create some amazing content for my audience and members and things like that, and then not have to break anything down. Just press a couple buttons, boom, boom, and go. And that's what I have created here, and I'm really excited about it. So there's a couple of different areas. We've got the desk setup, we've got a podcast studio space, we've got the closet space. There's a lot happening in that closet. And then we have kind of like a nice little bookshelf design area. This office was all white, and I ended up painting this wall a dark kind of a charcoal color. And so I love the way it kind of wraparounds this one wall from the closet to the podcast space all the way towards the bathroom over there. It just makes the space a little bit more separated, and it appears a little bit bigger than it did when it was all white. Because this space isn't that big, I had to get really creative with the layout and how this was going to function. But I went with this desk from Joybird. And the reason why I went with this desk, I wanted to go with black because it just pops so nicely off this white wall. I've never had a black desk before, so I thought I'd give it a go. But it had to be skinny enough against this wall because there's not that much room between this podcast setup and the desk. And so if I'm having a guest over, I just didn't want it to be crammed. So I had to get a skinnier desk. And so this desk from Joybird, all the links will be in the description, fit the mark and was the perfect size. Next, I went with a Grove-made leather mat. And I think they make some of the best products. I think they make the best leather mats and some of the best monitor stands out there with their materials. I went with a medium size black, matches really nicely with the desk, and it's gonna allow me to keep the desk in really good condition, especially because it's real wood, it's not cheap, and it's black. And so I see that it can scratch really easily. So I wanted to get a really nice mat so that I don't scratch up the desk. And the reason why I went with the Grove-made monitor stand is because the desk is so skinny, it allows me to put more things on my desk, but then also keep it hidden so I can maintain that nice, clean, modern look as best as I can. Next up on the list is my monitor. I've had this monitor ever since it came out from LG. It's the LG Ultrafine 5K display, but I love how this monitor fits perfectly with the wall, and it just kind of sits nicely with this little wall cutout area. So I'm not going to be changing it anytime soon. It's a fantastic monitor. To the right of the monitor, I have got a 16-inch MacBook Pro fully spec'd out. A quick little tip with buying laptops, Apple has a great small business loan program, and I have not bought a computer ever since. As a business owner, it doesn't really make sense to me to buy all these computers when they kind of lose their performance after 3, 4, especially 5 years. So ever since I found out about their business loan program, I've leased all of my equipment, and it's something that I really recommend. It's been a huge game changer for me, and I don't buy my computers anymore. So that's a 16-inch MacBook Pro, fully spec'd, and I put it into a Satechi laptop stand. I just love the way it looks. Yes, it takes up more space, but I think it's just a cool design element. And then finally, to make everything work, and we're gonna be getting to this crazy camera setup in a second here. But to make that work, the computer work, the monitor work, everything work, I have a CalDigit TS3 Plus. It's a beast. It's one of the best docks you can get. It's worth the price, in my opinion, if you've got a bunch of devices set up. And you've probably heard of it a bunch of times. And then my desk chair, I haven't changed my desk chair since the last bot. This is a chair, just a basic chair from Living Spaces. I think it has pretty good back support. I like the way it looks. I might switch it out for a different chair in the future, but for now, I think it looks fine and it will suffice. The way I've organized these drawers is just simply things that I use most of the time. And in the left drawer, I've got things like power banks, a lot of power banks, and then the cords that will allow me to charge certain things. I've got my headphones, the Sony WHX1000, and I don't even know the name anymore. It's a really terrible name. Can we all just agree on that? It's a horrible name, but they're phenomenal headphones, so I guess it doesn't matter. In the middle drawer, I've got things like pens, pencils, I've got a bunch of dry erase markers, and I'm gonna get to that in a second and why those are there. I also have certain adapters that I use and a few SD card readers as well. And in the right drawer, I've got external hard drives that I use quite a bit. I've got SD cards, I've got a screen cleaner. All these things are gonna be linked down below. I've got a notebook in case I need to write something down really quick. And I've got a few cords that go along with the external hard drives and SSDs and things like that. Now what I wanna do is I wanna talk about this crazy camera setup that I've got here. And I cannot take any real credit for this. This is something that I got from Caleb's YouTube channel. DSLR video shooter. He's got a in-depth look at how this thing is set up, and I took this from him. The reason why I want to show it to you is because I think it's useful to see this setup in different places, because even though the tech is kind of all the same, sometimes you have these weird little nuances that doesn't allow you to set it up just like Caleb. For me, I wasn't able to, so I had to get a little creative. And first things first is we need a monitor stand to make this function properly. And the difference between my setup and Caleb's setup is that I don't have a lot of space. He's got a lot of space, I don't. And so where I had to get creative is I had to take this monitor stand and bolt it into the wall. Next thing is I had to get one extra monitor arm. This setup comes with just one, so I had to get an extra to be able to set up the light and the teleprompter and the camera and all that good stuff. With the teleprompter, this was the Glide Gear TMP 100. It's one of the best affordable teleprompters are so pricey. I don't know what's up with that, but this was like 200 bucks, and that's the affordable version, I guess. And with that, we've got a Lilliput A8, which is an 8-inch monitor. And so this monitor basically acts as an iPad. If you were to use an iPad to read off the teleprompter, it does the same thing. And I also have a GH5 hooked up with this as well. And the reason why I decided to do this is because I use Zoom all the time. I was using Zoom before Zoom was what it is today. And so I need to use it for the Creator's Blueprint and my online education business with coaching calls and things like that. And then to film podcasts, to film YouTube videos, to film a bunch of different things. It allows me to go back and forth between Zoom, using it as a secondary monitor, and then also just filming regular videos like I'm filming right now. And so this is what kind of the setup looks like, and this is what it looks like when I'm on Zoom, and it allows me to see the people that I'm talking to face, and I can stare directly into the camera while looking at them at the same time. So for someone like me in an online education space and the type of content that I'm creating, it is money. All of this was so worth it. I'm able to bust out as much content as I need to, and it stays right here. It doesn't move. I can move it and create different camera angles and things like that, but for the most part, I don't really need to. And so the way I hook up this GH5 is I use a battery that allows me to plug it into the wall. So now I don't even need to use batteries and charge batteries. I just use this one little fake battery, whatever it's called, and I plug it into the wall, and it's good to go all the time. So the way this setup works is a little complicated. I'm gonna throw up Caleb's image that he used to describe what goes into what. The only difference between his setup and mine with the way it works is he uses the ATEM Mini. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's by Blackmagic. I use Blackmagic's mini recorder. That's the only difference for getting a live broadcast, whether it's through Zoom or YouTube or Facebook, whatever it is that you're using. That's what he uses to live broadcast, and I use the mini recorder because that's all I had, and it works fine. All of the cords and the cable management is underneath the desk. I used these black clips that I found on Amazon, and they have some of the best double-sided sticky tape where you can tape this to any type of surface, and they're so strong. So not only did I use them for these black clips to hide the cords in, but I also used them for power banks and surge protectors, and different elements of this whole setup is underneath the desk. Now it's time to talk about the podcast setup. So I've got a podcast, it's called Ramblin' Radio. We've got almost 100 episodes of guests and solo episodes. It's a nice mix. And this setup really serves two purposes. The first, of course, is when I have a guest in person come over. This is obviously what it's made for. And number two is I really wanted just a nice backdrop for when I'm creating other pieces of content from my desk and things like that. First things first, the chairs. These chairs are great. I got them on Amazon. I love the color. It just matches the whole aesthetic of the room. And I like these leather handles here because it matches with the desk really nicely and kind of brings those nice browns together and makes it very cohesive. Next thing is the marble table. So I tried a bunch of different tables, and one of them was like a weird boxy shape. It just didn't work. And finally I found this marble table from World Market. It's a great table. I think it fits really nicely with the aesthetic, brings in more of those whites, and it allows me to set up the equipment that I need. So it's really perfect and all that I needed. And then on the floor, I've got this nice little faux cowhide rug. It's okay. I'm not super in love with it. I think it works, but I got this from World Market as well. And I don't know, we'll see. We'll see if I change it or not. I think it's just okay at the moment. Then the backdrop. The backdrop is from Iconic. Big shout out to Iconic. If you need any artwork at all, they've got some amazing stuff. You've probably seen their ads. I love this canvas, and I want to actually use it for something else because I have a different vision for this back wall. I've got so many talented photographer friends, and a big dream of mine is to buy a bunch of their artwork and make a gallery wall of all of my friends' art. Now let's talk about the gear. We've got these blue swing arms. I used to have the Rode version. I think it looks like crap, so I sold it and bought these two instead. And then I've got those connected to the Shure SM7Bs. I don't need to go into those. Everybody's got them, and there's a reason why everybody's got them. And then I've got these Sony headphones. I don't know what the name is, but I'll put them in the description. They're industry standard. They're less than $100, and yet they're some of the best out there. The next thing I've got on the table is this Behringer micro amp. Whenever I have a guest come on for the podcast, I wanted to give them the ability to control the volume so I don't have to go back and forth or whoever's helping me for the podcast, they don't have to go back and forth and adjust anything. The guests can adjust it themselves and it's right there. And then the little things that I have on the table here, I've got this little floating moon. I'll try to find the link if I can find it. It was a gift, so I didn't buy it myself. So I'm not sure, but I'll try. And then behind the chairs, I've got just a little light. The light is LifeX. I think they make the best LED automatic lights. I think they're better than Philips. That might be a controversial statement, who knows? But I love it. I think they're really high quality. They've worked time and time again for me. All of these cords for the podcast setup lead into the closet. So the right side of the closet, we open up the door. Those cords lead into this little organizational cubby in the bottom right-hand corner. And inside of that, I've also got the cloud lifters for the Shure SM7Bs, and those are all connected to the audio interface that's on top of this little shelf that I got from Target. So we've got the Behringer audio interface, and then I've got the modem and the router, and all that's kind of connected behind the closet. And they're either connected with extension cords if the cords weren't long enough, or they're just connected directly into one of the surge protectors that I have. On the left-hand side of the closet, this is kind of where a lot of the magic happens. So I've got my cameras, I've got my battery charging station that I've got hooked up and taped up. Everything on the left-hand side and some of the things on the right side are then all connected to a big surge protector in this little IKEA shelf. And this IKEA shelf, I put my external hard drive storage, the big guys. And what's really great about this setup, and the big reason why everything is in the closet, is so that you don't have to see it. But when I need to use it, my computer on the right-hand side here is close enough to all of these cords where if I need to plug in one of those external hard drives, or if I need to plug in the audio interface, all of those cables have wrapped around the backside of the closet and are now available to plug into my MacBook Pro. And you don't have to see just the big mess that those devices and all the cables create. And so this is probably one of my favorite parts of this office space, is that now I just, whenever I need to record a podcast, I just have to take the cord because it's long enough and I get to just plug it into the computer and boom, I get to record. Or if I need to edit some footage off of one of my external hard drives, I just grab the cord, plug it into my computer, and boom, we're ready to go. And that's one of the big reasons why the computer is situated where it's at and why all these cords and things wrap into the closet so I can just hide it nicely. And one more thing about the closet that just takes it up to that next level is something that I've always wanted. And if you saw my last office video, I had this little tiny dry erase board and it was made out of glass and it was cool. I loved it, but it was still small, but that was all I had room for. And I've always wanted to have a massive dry erase board because I'm such a visual guy. I love to get everything out and just to see it all mapped out on one big area. And so when we moved into this space, I looked at the material of these closet doors and I'm like, man, that looks awfully familiar to the dry erase board material. So I took a dry erase marker and I tried it and it worked. Not only can you write on it, but you can also erase it without seeing anything. And so now I've got this almost an entire wall as a dry erase board, and I could not be more stoked about it. So my wish came true. I've never had anything like this. It's amazing. I'm beyond grateful to have that. And I will show you the company that makes these doors just in case you can, I don't know, buy them for your own space. I don't know, but I'll show you where you can get them just in case you've got the space for it or the dimensions for it or whatever. And the last thing that I'll talk about in this space is really quick, the plants in the bookshelf. My plants above my monitor, those planters are from West Elm. And honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to put there. Maybe I'll change it, maybe not, but I like the way it looks. I think it's kind of unique and keeps that modern, sophisticated look. And then the plants inside of those planters are fake and they're from Hobby Lobby. They're fine. The planter next to my desk is from World Market, and the plant inside is a snake plant, and we got it from the Melrose Trading Post here in Los Angeles. So if you're local, it's a great place to get plants, highly recommend it. And then this Birds of Paradise plant we also got from the Melrose Trading Post. And the planter holding the Birds of Paradise is super basic. It's from IKEA. And then my last plant is a little fake plant from World Market, and I didn't really know where to put it. And so I just put it there to hide some of the cords and just kind of the mess that's going on underneath my podcast setup there. I think it works for now. The bookshelf is from IKEA, and a lot of the little design elements that you see is from Living Spaces. I've got a couple of film cameras that I use, some of my all-time favorite books, especially The One Thing, Profit First. If you haven't read those, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, especially if you have a creative business or any business. Go read those books. I'll link them down below. And that is my 2021 office tour. Like I said, if you want to see the entire apartment space, let me know in the comments below. Give me a follow on Instagram. I answer all of my DMs. And that is a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one. Peace.